Good morning. We'll go ahead and get started if everyone can find their seats.
Discussion on how this all works on the agenda. Okay, all right.
Good morning and welcome. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Tri-City Council on Wednesday, January 21st, 2026 at 10:10 a.m. We are in Kingman. Thank you so much, Kingman, for hosting us this morning. If you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll now have roll call. Annie, should we move our way around, or is there a mic?
If you guys want to go ahead and start, and then I have Tanya. She will circulate a mic through the audience, and then I'll introduce the people we have attending via Zoom.
Okay, perfect. Well, good morning. I'm Cal Sheehy, the mayor of Lake Havasu City.
Ken Watkins, Mayor, City of Kingman.
Good morning, Rodney Head, Mayor of Bullhead City.
I'm Tanya Ferguson, the Deputy City Clerk of Kingman.
Susan Carroll, Deputy City Clerk of Bullhead City.
Debbie Ogden, City Clerk, City of Bullhead City.
David Diaz, Vice Mayor, Lake Havasu City.
Nancy Campbell, Lake Havasu City Council and RTAC Chair, along with Arizona at Work Vice Chair.
Jeannie Kent, Mojave County Assessor.
Good morning, Toby Cotter, City Manager from the great city of Bullhead City.
Good morning, Anthony Brozich, Arizona Department of Transportation.
Steve D'Amico, Executive Director, Bullhead City Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Edgar Cajero, Assistant City Manager, City of Bullhead City.
Travis Pruitt, the other Assistant City Manager, Bullhead City.
Dan Alfonso, Vice Mayor, Bullhead City, and my wife, Linda.
Pamela Smith, Bullhead City Council.
Karen Dahlman, Bullhead City Council.
Jason Newland, Bullhead City Council.
Mike Keys with ADOT.
Estella Hollander with AECOM.
Jessica Nixon, City Manager for the greatest city, Lake Havasu City.
Cherished Family, Vice Mayor from the heart of Route 66 in Kingman.
Oh, good job. Good morning, everyone. Travis Lingenfelter, Mojave County Supervisor, District 1, also Chairman of the Board. Thank you.
Allie Blum, Senior Executive Assistant for Lake Havasu City.
Good morning. Kelly Williams, City Clerk, Lake Havasu City.
Sarah Hall, Marketing and Communications, City of Kingman.
Good morning, Michelle Baggs, ADOT Communications.
Good morning, Todd Steinberger, ADOT.
Hello, Cameron Moses, Lake Havasu City Council.
Jenny Koch, Lake Havasu City Council.
Chris Cranny, large shareholder in Telvantis Corporation, Esports and Entertainment Corporation, and Brush Oil Care Corporation, among others.
Good morning, Anthony Kozlowski, Assistant City Manager, Lake Havasu City.
Tim Walsh, City of Kingman, the original city.
Smiley Ward, Kingman City Council.
Jack Yeager, Fire Chief, City of Kingman.
Jake Crawford, Mojave College, Dean of Student and Community Engagement.
Jolene Pruitt, Vice President of Administrative Services, Mojave College.
Tina Moline, Deputy City Manager, Finance Director, City of Kingman.
Good morning, I'm Jamie Staley, Kingman City Council.
Good morning, Brian Zach, Kingman Police Department.
Good morning, Annie Meredith. I'm the City Clerk for the City of Kingman. And joining us via Zoom, we have Coral Evans from Senator Kelly's office, Penny Pugh from Congressman Gosar's office, Tremaine Rassah from Mojave College, Kevin Adam for Rural Transportation, Olivia Tobias from the Kingman Daily Miner, Daisy Nelson from the Mojave Daily News, Alyssa Nunez from ProTech Arizona, Terry Greiger from Lake Havasu City, Sarah Lajewski, Gary Cooper, Shannon Davis from Lake Havasu City, Renee Guyen from the Arizona League of Cities and Towns.
Excellent. Thank you so much and welcome. If those of you that are here in person, please be sure to sign in. The sign-in sheet is right here at the beginning of the room. And then also restrooms are just out the double doors to down the hallway, I think to the right. But again, thank you all for being here. We're so glad to have you here and engage in this great conversation across our region. We now will open up for call to the public. Would anyone like to address the Tri-City Council at call to the public? Yeah, Vice Mayor Diaz.
So as I was been thinking of lately, and I was driving in here, I thought even more about it. So this is the beginning of the state legislature last week, and I believe that this is a really important body that we put together with the Tri-City Council meeting. And I was wondering if we could possibly look at the possibility of putting together a Tri-City Council Legislative Committee. And on that committee would be 2 council members from each city, and then our legislative liaisons like Anthony Kozlowski, Travis, and I'm not sure who Kingman has, and then get together to make sure the voice of the people and our wants and our needs are being properly communicated to the legislature. We all have close relationships with our Senator Angus and Representative Leo Biasucci and John Gillette, and we could continue to foster those, I think, by having a collective communication to them. Just a thought and see what everyone thought about it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Would anyone else like to address the Tri-City Council? All right, we'll go ahead and close the call to the public. Item 4 is approval of the minutes from the October 29th, 2025 Tri-City Council meeting.
So moved.
All right. Second. We have a motion from Mayor Watkins, a second from Mayor Head. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 5 is updates from Mojave County Board of Supervisors and other elected officials. We'll start with Chairman Lingenfelter. Do you have any comments or?
Good morning, everyone. Sorry to have my back to the majority of the people in this room, but it's a pleasure to be here. It's very important for Mojave County to continue a very solid relationship and partnership with all of our communities. I would say the legislature has started. I would start with water. I've been the lead for the county on water issues for the last 6 years. On the groundwater side, hopefully, the city of Kingman and the county can continue our partnership with USGS and ADWR. Those of you that are in the audience and maybe watching online, you may have read that there was recently an order by a judge that vacated the irrigation on expansion area. County found out about that at the same time as the city did. I immediately got on the phone with the governor's office and those in ADWR. I can tell you that Tom Bashansky, ADWR, is not going to back down on that. The governor's office is not going to back down. We've been told directly from Patrick Adams, who's water lead for the governor's office, that we should anticipate a stay of that order or the request of a stay of that order and then the state appealing that. Those of you that are maybe in this valley that are worried about this sudden and massive new influx of agriculture, I think that we're doing everything that we can at the county and the city to try to combat that and to make sure that our water basin is protected. On the river side, all of you that are following that process, the post-2026 process for the guidelines, the Reclamation has issued their EIS for those guidelines. Just yesterday at our meeting, I had posted an item on our board agenda to have staff and our water attorney, Clark Hill. Clark Hill is the same water attorney that represented Mojave County, La Paz County, Yuma County, City of Yuma in the Queen Creek dispute down in federal court, and we prevailed on that. We compelled a full EIS of that transfer. We've requested that staff and Clark Hill compose comments for us as far as Mojave County to submit those by the deadline in March, and I assume that all of our river communities are also going to prepare your own comments to make sure that you get those submitted so that our voices on the river are heard. Obviously, all of us that have been following that process, best case scenario right now in Arizona is we're probably looking at a 760,000 acre foot additional conservation, and that's probably best case scenario from what we're hearing. I think that Mayor, you're certainly actively involved with Mojave County Water Authority, Mayor also. Hopefully it's not worse than that. Any cuts on the river, that hits different because that's 100% of our river community's water. We don't have a bunch of different sources where we can round out our water portfolio, and it affects everything that we do. It's our economic development, it's our tourism, it's our way of life. So we have to make sure that we advocate as much as we can. So that's the water stuff. Also working very closely with City of Bullhead, and I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but if you've been following what's going on with the airport down there, we had some, Mojave County Airport Authority currently operates the Laughlin, or the Bullhead City Laughlin Airport. They have had some resignations off their executive board. Mojave County is actually the owner of all the property that we leased it, similar to what we did up here in Kingman with that airport authority. We're working very closely with the City of Bullhead to just basically maximize the asset down there. And hopefully we'll get to a place where Bullhead City one day is running that airport successfully, just like Kingman is running theirs, and it's just like Havasu is running theirs. There's a bunch of other things that are going on. We're still in pursuit of shrinking the boundaries of the Baj National Monument up north. I'm going to DC the first part of February to go meet with Secretary Burgum and some people from USGS on that issue, because there's a possibility that they may take action before the primary or the midterms. There's just so much going on. I don't want to waste a lot of time, but if you have any other questions county related, please don't hesitate to come and talk to me or any of the others. We also started yesterday a flood control conversation. I know that that's of great importance to our cities. Look forward to the county and the communities coming together to really put our heads together and find out exactly what's the best solution. There is no easy solution. The county taxing district for the flood control is capped out at 50% or at 50 cents per $100 of net assessed value. So really, how do we solve the most problems and make those dollars go the furthest where they need to? And so I look forward to being a part of that dialogue too. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, any questions from
Actually, I do.
Yeah,
Travis.
Actually, yes.
Thank you. First, I want to thank you for all that you do for our county, and of course, especially representing this body and our water concerns. Silly question, but do you think there were those of our agricultural friends that were waiting for this thing to be placated, and then now all of a sudden they're drilling wells already? Or do you think it's going to? What do you think? What have you heard?
I'll tell you exactly what I've heard. I've heard from both ADWR and the governor's office that the INA is still in effect. So if there's anybody out there that's saying that it's null and void right now, such as there's one real estate developer guy working with these two firms that did this lawsuit a couple years ago, that's incorrect information according to ADWR and the governor's office. So again, when I get information, I'll make sure I get it to you guys post haste if I get it first, but I'm anticipating a request to stay that order, and I'm anticipating an appeal of that. That's what the official stance is from Patrick Adams, the governor's office, and ADWR right now. So if there's anybody that sees that sort of activity going on, I would recommend that they contact ADWR. It's obviously not in the county's hands or the city's hands. That's an enforcement issue that has to be with the state. Inform us. We'd be happy to help inform the state on those types of things if anybody sees that activity happening.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah. Anything else?
No,
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And then Mojave County Assessor Jeannie Kenge.
Thank you, Board. Thanks for having me and allowing me to speak. I just wanted to announce that currently I am now the president of the Arizona Association of County Officers. So we work well with the League of Cities and Towns and also the County Supervisors Association. And I'm going to be there, so I'd be glad to share with what I know. If you do put together a nice legislative team, I would love to be involved in that because I can help in that situation. And if there's anything I can help you with, let me know. I'm there. Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. And then Dr. Evans, do you have an update from Senator Kelly's office?
I do not at this time. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for joining us. And then is that Penny Pugh from Congressman Gosar's office? Penny, did you have an update from Congressman Gosar's office?
Yes.
Oh.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
I'm en route to Kingman Veteran Treatment Court, so I apologize. I didn't get an early enough start to get up there. Yeah, the congressman, you know, he's got the legislation that for the solar, some love it, especially in La Paz County. Others have questions, but we did a trip Saturday or Monday to the solar project. It's called Q-Cells, largest one in the nation. And it's not just solar, it is a whole program for energy. So that's pretty exciting. I'm happy to send any information that you folks might have feeding into the transmission there. We also took a tour to the border with the Hungarian ambassador Saturday, which was great. That, you know, they're having big border problems in Europe. We're not experiencing those now. However, the future is vague and laws have to be kept. But it was a good visit with the delegation from Hungary. And of course, the congressman continues to work on water, power, natural resources, and especially government oversight on some of these things that are the lights being shined on, overspending, fiscal irresponsibility. So I'm not going to take a ton of time, but he continues to work, and we'll be up in Colorado City soon to visit with them on some of their federal issues that they have. So appreciate the time and look forward to seeing you all and those who attend the Veteran Treatment Court today at 1:30 in Kingman.
Yeah, thank you, Penny, and thank you to Congressman Gosar for the work that you're doing on behalf of our district.
Thank you.
All right, number 6 is legislative update with the League of Arizona Cities and Towns. Renee Guillen.
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor. I have to point out, since I am in my office, that this little weapon is actually from the outskirts of Budapest. So from a college study abroad trip I did in, well, maybe I won't give the year. We'll say sometime in the 2000s. So always nice to hear a country in Europe that I've visited before and have a great affinity for. There is a lot to cover, so I will attempt to be, I guess, as efficient as possible. Vice Mayor Diaz, you know, as he noted, we are well into the legislative session, or I guess early into the legislative session. So I will start with the governor's state of the state, and I apologize. On my screen, I seem to be kind of glitchy. I don't know if it'd be better if I turned off my video.
No, you look good on our end.
Oh, okay. All right, we need to up our internet here at the Capitol. But the governor, you know, kicked off session with the state of the state, hit a number of topics. I'm just going to cover a couple of them, and then it'll kind of bleed into the governor's executive budget because, you know, she gives her state of the state on Monday, her executive budget on Friday. A lot of these items do overlap, and I'm not covering everything, just some of the major items, especially the ones that will or may impact cities and towns. So, you know, it's always nice to hear the governor talk about short-term rentals in her state of the state. She mentioned, you know, the impact they have on housing availability. And one of her proposals this year, both as a regulatory, I suppose, measure, but also as a money-making measure, is to impose a $3.50 fee or surcharge on every short-term rental. And then she is proposing to use the revenue from that fee to go into a fund for frankly, for a number of purposes. Mostly for, I believe, what she's calling a weatherization program. So that would go to homeowners to fund a number of improvements, basically aimed at reducing the cost of ownership. So double paned windows, insulation, I think eventually even possibly solar panels. And then I believe it's sort of a waterfall of funding that could include down payment or rental assistance, and then ultimately money into the Housing Trust Fund. As you might imagine, Airbnb has already come out and noted that they are not crazy about the idea about adding that surcharge to as short-term rental stays. She also talked about data centers, right? And the, I guess, increased need for data centers to fuel, I guess, the advancement of AI, both domestically and globally. She talked really about two items that I want to hit on because they really do, I think, impact not only cities and towns, but I would argue possibly or potentially rural Arizona as these data centers look for additional locations and from what I'm hearing from some of our rural communities. So one is the increased need for water, and we, are hearing that with some of the technology advancements, some of the data centers will either go to a closed loop system, so there's just sort of a one-time infusion of water that then gets recycled internally, or they go to an air-cooled system. However, I think for many of you, there's still electricity that goes to power that data center, and most of our electric generation methods require water, right? Whether it's gas or even nuclear, you're basically just running a steam engine. It's a steam turbine that generates electricity. So there's still a water consideration, even if it's air cooled. So the governor is proposing, I believe, a 1 cent per gallon surcharge on water used for data centers. And then also there is a incentive. Some people call it a credit, but it's really a tax exemption. It's an exemption for TPT for the equipment for qualified data centers. And that's what the largest data centers have been using when they locate in Arizona. And so she is calling for an elimination of that incentive. One of the things that, and it should be noted, I believe last year, or at least the last fiscal year of data showed that that was used to the tune of $38 million statewide. What is interesting, one of the things I will note is that the state of the state is sort of like the State of the Union, right? The governor is in front of the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate, both Republicans. And when she announced her desire to eliminate the incentive for data centers, the President of the Senate, who is running for Attorney General against Chris Mays, applauded. And so, I think everyone is aware these speeches are typically very political and partisan. And so to see, a member of the other party sort of supporting an initiative from the governor, especially that kind of initiative, I think was interesting. And sort of on that point, Representative Neil Carter in the House has actually introduced a measure that would phase out the data center incentive. And so we actually do see a Republican sponsoring that measure. And I think, what you'll see, or what you're seeing, is that some of those factions that we have at the Capitol, I've talked about them before, right? And Representative Carter was actually in our building yesterday talking with CAG, Central Arizona Governments, NACOG, and Sun Corridor. And he said, it came to him from a constituent, but his feeling was that, they're already coming to Arizona, so why should they be incentivized? And then he also said, I'm sort of paraphrasing, but the idea that he feels it's not good conservative policy when you have a credit or incentive because you're picking winners and losers. Those weren't his exact words, but that's sort of the fiscal conservative sentiment, right? That it's exclusive to one industry, and that's why he ran the bill. So it'll be interesting to see where Republican leadership in the House falls on that idea, and will the bill, move through the legislature? But it would give the state more money to, for lack of a better term, play with. But we have cities with current data centers. We have some cities that are interested in data centers. So that is an issue, I think, to be aware of. And, I think for areas like Mojave County, where water is clearly a concern, the potential resource needs of some of these large scale AI focused data centers is certainly, I think, cause for concern at the very least. Turning to sort of the executive budget, I believe overall, the executive budget is a $4.9 increase in spending, or I guess overall spending compared to last year. That is interesting because you may recall from my last presentation, the JLBC or the Finance Advisory Committee had projected that by FY28, the state would only have $67 million cash on hand, or cash balance, I should say, in FY28. So the question is, how do you spend? I think it's roughly 950 more in FY27 than with that sort of projection. Just being blunt, there are a number of what the governor is calling revenue enhancements. I think the other side would call them tax increases. So there's quite a few major pieces to that, right? So the elimination of the data center incentive would be 38 million. That's not a lot, but that's a piece of it. The water fee would be a good piece of it. Another piece, which is a big chunk of it, is I believe currently large scale sports betting venues. I would think of all the sports books attached to the major, I know it's not Footprint anymore, but I call it Footprint, but State Farm Stadium, the Suns, where anyone major plays. I believe they currently pay a 10% tax rate to the state. She's proposing to increase that to 45%. So that'd be a significant increase. And then you may recall that in HR 1 at the federal level, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill, there was, I believe, around $13.8 billion allocated or set aside to be allocated to the states as reimbursement for costs incurred due to, essentially due to, I don't know if there's a safe way to put it, but I forget what the language is in the bill, but basically due to costs incurred for inaction from the federal government related to immigration enforcement. The governor's proposal proposes that the state would receive about $750 million from the federal government in that through that fund, and that goes towards a major chunk of the governor's new spending priorities. So those are some of the major pieces of new spending. As you might imagine, the majority leadership in the legislature is, I guess, dubious on the likelihood of and in some cases not supportive of those efforts to, either raise taxes or raise fees, or that, necessarily, I guess, counting on money that isn't a guarantee. So these are all things that will have to be negotiated through the course of the budget. One piece that will probably inevitably end up in the budget, to make you aware of, is, of course, the issue of tax conformity. So I talked about the One Big Beautiful Bill. Well, a major piece of HR 1 was a number of changes to the federal tax code. So that is not unusual, right? It's very common for the feds to make changes to how they handle taxes. And then every year, every state really has to decide how they want to adjust, especially states like Arizona, where we have an income tax. So almost every year, Arizona has a tax conformity bill. It's usually de minimis, for lack of a better term. It's a technical measure. However, this year, obviously, it is a little bit different because of the ramifications. So you essentially had have two competing proposals. The governor, I believe in November, issued an executive order directing DOR to start preparing forms for tax filers based around her desired form of tax conformity, which would be, for lack of a better term, about half of conformity with HR 1. Shortly after that, legislative majority came out with their proposal, which I would say is about 90 to 95% of conformity with HR 1. And so the legislature, and then the legislature, legislative leadership, particularly Senate President Warren Peterson, committed to get their proposal up to the governor the first week of session. And their package is about a total of $1 billion in tax cuts to Arizona. They did get that up this week in the form of last week in the form of Senate Bill 1106. The governor committed to veto it. She did veto that bill. The big takeaway is that some form of tax conformity will take place, right? And logic says it's not going to be from 0 to 100. It's going to be from 50% to 95%, right? It's going to be somewhere from where they both started at. So, for cities and towns, we get 18% of income tax collection, so there will be an impact. The difficulty is finding an exact number. So, right, we will have to wait and see what gets negotiated. Rough estimates is going off of JLBC's analysis of the One Big Beautiful Bill in the summer. We could estimate that full compliance would have been about a hit to cities and towns total in the first year of about 80 million. And so then Governor Hobbs' proposal of about half compliance would have been around 40 million. These are rough numbers, right? And so you can kind of say that the Republican proposal would have been, I guess maybe a little shy of that 80 million number. So that gives you just rough estimates of what you're looking at between 40 and 80 million, depending on what ultimately comes out of those discussions. So tax conformity will be a big piece, one, because of the tax policy, and two, because at the state level, it comes with a price tag, right? And so it has to be paid for in some way. So like I said, even though, say, to us, the Republican proposal was 80 million-ish, it was $1 billion to the state. So that is, why that will be a major piece of discussion for session as it moves through. Water will be a topic, and the league does not do water because it is so local and regional, but I expect that to take up a lot of discussion, especially as we see, thankfully, the lower basin states seem to be in pretty good alignment, wanting to find a solution, and hopefully unifying for the sake of knowing that we are better as a united front against the upper basin. But I expect to see water be a pretty good focus of efforts at the Capitol. I do want to mention that there are a couple of public notices bills this year that have been introduced. I didn't hear Senator Borelli or Supervisor Borelli in the audience, but I'm going to harken back to him at one of our prior meetings and just set expectations that, what did he say? I think quoting Mark Twain, that don't go against the people that control the ink. Senator Angus has her bill. Senator Kavanaugh has a bill. The full elimination, if you will, of the public notice requirements was not successful last year. Senator Kavanaugh has it's his own idea. It's sort of a middle step where he's trying to essentially keep some reporting through the newspapers, but minimize the cost by basically saying we still have to notice through the newspaper, but you're really just referring them to your website. So the amount that you have to print is much smaller, so the cost is less. I don't know if a half measure will increase the odds of passage. We will see, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. And then just wanted to bring up a quick rundown of some bills moved through the legislature that have some impacts for cities and towns. There are a number of measures that will have financial hits. So those tend to be the ones we highlight, want to put on your radar. So one of them is House Bill 2269. This would eliminate the state TPT on utilities. So we do get a portion of that through state shared TPT. Our rough math back of the napkin is about 115 million total, which we sort of estimate to be 38 million a year over all cities. So not the biggest impact we've seen. There are measures, again, looking to eliminate or mostly eliminate food tax. I won't dwell on that because I don't believe any of the Tri-Cities tax food for home consumption there, but there are measures out there again. And then there's another measure, House Bill 2290, dealing with the sourcing of online purchases. And I do want to highlight this one because it doesn't affect the state, right? So this bill is dealing with when someone makes a purchase from a online retailer that has a distribution center or a warehouse in Arizona, and it's dealing with where the order is received, right? And so the problem with this bill, I'm going to use me, I live in Goodyear. Goodyear has an Amazon fulfillment center, right? Right now, if you order from Amazon, it is the delivery location. So if you make an order in Kingman, you are going to be charged Kingman sales tax, and Kingman gets the revenue, right? And what this bill would say, if you order from anyone out of state, that's still the case. You go to a business in Kingman, you pay Kingman sales tax. But if you order from Amazon and it turns out that pack of, I don't know, Dove soap that you ordered off of Amazon is being fulfilled through the warehouse in Goodyear, oh, well, guess what? Since they happen to be physically in Arizona, we're going to charge you Goodyear sales tax, and Goodyear's going to get the revenue. So I bring that up because one, no city is asking for this, but two, I think you can see the problem here, right? All these transactions are still charged state tax. So the state's not hurt. But if you don't have any of these fulfillment centers in your city, you're no longer going to see any of this revenue, right? So that's the problem, right? It's a redistribution of the TPT revenue. This is not what we talked about when it came to Wayfair and about bringing sort of tax equity with the brick and mortar stores in your cities that are creating jobs in your cities, trying to level that playing field. This sort of throws that out. This is bad for really not just rural Arizona, any city or town or county that doesn't have these warehouses. So we can't put a dollar amount on it, but it's not good. So hate to end on doom and gloom, but that is those are items I wanted to bring to your attention. And I know Kevin, for example, will hit on the transportation side and on the prospects there. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the update. Are there any questions for Renee from the mayors? No? Does anyone else have any questions for the league? Food trucks, Renee, do you have an update on the food truck bill?
The only update is so far is that I believe it was held in committee. And so, any delay is a good thing. And so we were actually talking internally. Our understanding is that this bill was run specifically for a constituent. So we're trying to figure out if we could figure out what that constituent specific issue is, and is there a non-legislative way to address it, and then make the bill go away, right? Because, if the issue is, I guess, systemic of a larger problem, great. But if this is just a one-off, we shouldn't be legislating to the exception, we should be legislating to the rule. We're optimistic, but at least, for this week, we live to fight another day, and it also gives us more time to fine tune our talking points and to, work on legislators.
Yeah, thank you. And then on 2290, the sourcing of online purchases, on that particular bill, is it already assigned to committee?
I believe it is. I don't believe it's gone to committee, but I do believe it is signed. And I should just note for, I don't know, the masochist in me, we are looking at the potential for a record number of bills, and we might actually have a historic moment because we already have 912 bills introduced in the House, and we still have until February 11th for representatives to introduce bills, and they each have a 7-bill limit, which means 420 bills, which means when it rolls over, right, when you get to House Bill 2999, the next bill becomes House Bill 4000. or 4001. And so we've never had that. A little fun fact. But Mayor, to answer your question, it has been assigned to Ways and Means, but is not currently on an agenda.
Okay. And any backstory of what it's trying to achieve, or are you just not aware of what's driving it?
It's a long backstory. It kind of goes back to some instances before the U.S. Supreme Court decision on Wayfair. And I would argue there's some antiquated thinking on tax policy based off of the way transactions were handled prior to that Supreme Court decision, right? When you had to have physical nexus, but now that the Supreme Court has said you can have economic nexus, to us that really renders that moot. And you have some thinking out there that says that just disagrees with that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Vice Mayor? Yeah, Representative Olson is sponsoring that bill. All right, are there any other questions? All right, thank you, Renee. We appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry I couldn't be here in person. Hopefully for the next one.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing on behalf of the cities and towns. All right, item 7 is the Arizona Department of Transportation update. Mr. Brozich.
Mayor Sheehy?
Yes.
Really quick while he's getting set up, just a reminder that we do have to use a mic. So Susan up here has one. If you have a question, if you'll just pop your hand up, she'll come to you with the mic. That way on Zoom and also our live stream and our recording can catch those questions.
Good morning, Council. Pleasure to be here as always. Start with our project presentation. So the West Kingman TI, if you haven't seen it out there, it is well underway. I believe we're just over halfway and moving along nicely. I think it's next year it's supposed to be done. SR 95 South Palo Verde to Price Road, the center raised median. Last time I was at this council, we had a lot of questions about that median. Just wanted to update everybody that we are looking at modifications, some contract and pricing or funding to work through on that, but I'm hoping to have some modifications available here next month or two, and then follow up later with some additional, but using the same contract is a little tricky, so we have some restrictions there. I-40 Rancho Santa Fe, that is moving along nicely as well. We've been working with Kingman to get some modifications done on their needs as it ties into their road to the airport and others, but no issues on that one that I've heard recently. The California Border ITS project is still moving forward. If you haven't seen it, traveling across I-40, there's a lot of conduit on the side of the road that they're installing. The last part I saw was by Sligman, but it's getting close to completion. On US 93 Tony Avenue, we had some modifications to the median crossings for the gas stations and the trucks there, some striping and increased turn lanes. US 93 Sanctuary Road is a Prez project coming south through town. There's been a lot of complaints about the condition of that road. That will go through the West Kingman TI project and should start once weather gets a little nicer to get that milling and filling done. I-40 Holy Moses Wash to Rattlesnake Wash is ongoing. It's a little slow over the winter here with the temperatures needed for the pavement, but we do have some deck rehab that was done at Rattlesnake and some additional paving on the west side of that project by Holy Moses, if you haven't noticed. US 93 Cane Springs is a 4-lane divided highway section that is moving nicely. The bridge over Cane Springs was replaced with 2 new ones, so that'll connect to existing 4-lane sections. In 93 Oldie up Hillside, pavement Prez in another section that was well overdue. A couple pictures for you. These are the bridges on I-40. On the left picture, right side, is the flyover ramp as it's tying back into the eastbound I-40 direction. So that should make that interchange non-existent for people who want to pass through. The picture on the left is the earthwork for those flyover ramps to connect 40, so you're actually north of I-40 looking south there. Here's looking back north at that same cut and the building of the flyover ramp and the rebar being placed. On the left side is 93. On the right side is 93. On the far right side, you can see that the new alignment is coming over those tunnels that you see. One is a tunnel for Fort Beale and another one is for drainage. Another picture of the flyover from underneath and those tunnels as well. If you don't know what those white rectangular objects are in that wash, those are called energy dissipators to help slow the water down so it minimizes erosion. Some more, I think, interesting pictures if you like cranes and construction. But the formwork on the pier cap and then the pier cap on the far right side. Additional bridges, Rancho Santa Fe being built. Those are the I-40 bridges where traffic is already on the ramps. I'm going to stay away from more technical stuff for the time being. Cane Springs as well. A lot of land being cleared for those new lanes down there, but that should certainly be helpful. And the deck pours, all the rebar. I know you guys don't get to see that too much. Holy Moses Wash, we had some deck rehab I had mentioned earlier. This is just some pictures. Technically just skimming off the top and putting a new coat back over top. For upcoming projects, Lake Havasu TI Bridge, that is a widening of that bridge to allow for the truck traffic. It is not an extra lane, but it is going to make that more navigable for that area. The Lake Havasu TI to the Wash pavement press, again, it should be one of the last sections of I-40 west of Kingman that we're doing. The rest of it should be done. US 93 on I-40 to Silver Springs, just again, another pavement press coming down the pipeline, and that's essentially starts at 93 and heads east. US 93 from I-40 to Blake Ranch, another pavement press. So we have a lot of work in the area now, but we still have a good bit more coming. City of Kingman has various safety improvements that are advertised coming down the pipeline. Mojave County has some as well. Even with the Highway Safety Improvement Rail, that is the bridge being relocated, I believe, out there off of Crookton. Passing lanes down south on 93 in the fourth quarter to get extended to help out down there. But starting on the bottom right, we also have the Gap A and Vista Royale widening to 4 lanes, which will connect essentially the 4 lanes at Wickenburg Ranch up to the existing 4 lanes, I guess north of the train tracks by about 8 miles. Kingman Crossing traffic interchange, I hear that's still being negotiated and talked about. We haven't taken it off our books yet. Sooner it gets here, the better. If it goes too long, the plans and everything need to be updated just to make sure. But I know Kingman's working towards that diligently. US 93 Big Jim Wash is another 4-lane divided highway section. Essentially, as you're coming out of Santa Maria, where the 4-lane currently drops to 2 lanes, that'll carry down to the Big Jim Wash. I think it's about a 10-mile stretch. So slowly but surely, we're looking to get that all 4 lanes. I will have a few more things to mention, but I wanted to take any questions on the presentation.
There are questions for Anthony? In follow-up to our conversation last Tri-City Council meeting.
Yes.
I believe Supervisor Borelli was mentioning I-40. They scraped it from the Havasu interchange to California border. Mm-hmm. And it was something that the contractor did something wrong and they were going to come back and fix that. Is that still?
So we had a new asphalt product we were using called Stone Matrix Asphalt. That section of I-40 did not turn out as well as we had hoped as far as smoothness goes. Mm-hmm. So we brought in a grinding machine, which we do in other locations. It's not abnormal. It does not leave a perfectly smooth riding surface, but it is a textured surface that does smooth the road out. It just has small grooves in it that make a little more noise, but perfectly fine to drive on.
So that's done?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't understand that last time, so thank you for that clarification. And then the median in Lake Havasu, you said in the next 2 months or so?
I am working through some stuff.
Okay.
The hope is to have somebody out there to modify some of the bullnoses. When we are ready to actually say we can have the funding and the means, the contracting means set, we will certainly be putting out public notification before we get to that point, so everybody understands what's going to happen and the impact of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
And is that Vice Mayor Samley?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for embellishing our curbs in Lake Havasu with the yellow. It's very helpful, especially at night for us older folks that can't drive very well. But I really wanted to thank you for the embellishments on the construction with Route 66 all over the posts. It's lovely. So thank you very much. It looks beautiful.
You're welcome. With us today, we also have Mike from ADOT that is up here doing the ADOT listening tour. So I am going to ask him to come up and speak to you guys about that.
Okay.
But one last thing I wanted to share with everybody is I have given my notice to the state. My last day with them will be February 6th. And I wanted to say I enjoyed working with everybody up here
Can I ask Mike?
and most of you out there.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, and you will be missed.
Yeah. And then Vice
I
Mayor
like
Diaz?
I like the operative word most. Right, most. Anthony, thank you for the presentation. Can you clarify a little more clearly, like the $4,916,000 you had tagged for some improvements to the medians? But what's almost $5 million? What are you going to do for $5 million?
Are you referring to the medium in Havasu, right?
Yes, yes. Right there.
So that was the original contract price.
That's the original contract
That
price?
is the original contract price.
Okay. Thanks for clearing that up. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And then Anthony, before you leave, yeah, we have a presentation for you.
Wow.
It is in recognition of distinguished service for the work that you've done up here. We appreciate it with sincere appreciation for your dedicated service, leadership, and collaborative partnerships in advancing transportation infrastructure across Mojave County. Your stewardship has resulted in transformative projects and safety improvements that have strengthened mobility, enhanced roadway standards, and improved quality of life for the residents of Lake Havasu City, the city of Bullhead City, and the city of Kingman, and presented to you today on behalf of the Tri-City Council. So we'll come around and we'll take a photo. We thank you for your work. We wish you the best in your future. Thank you for being so focused on Mojave County and the needs that we have up here, which are many, as you know. And you handled it with grace, and you were able to do some really large-scale projects that were really meaningful for all of our communities. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All I can say is that's really cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Bullhead City, for arranging it. But we'll come around, we'll take a photo.
Yep, right here is good. Okay, yeah. I'm just not doing it in front of this because the tables are so close. Yeah. You can come right next to me. Get cozy. All right, everybody look at me first, and then I'll move so Michelle can get one. Thank you.
All right, good morning, welcome.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. It's hard to follow that presentation. But my name is Michael Keys. I'm the strategic advisor to the director's office. And Director Toth has asked a few of us at ADOT to facilitate a listening tour. And why are we doing a listening tour? Because we believe that the state of Arizona needs a new vision for transportation. We've nicknamed the listening tour What Next Move Arizona, because we're trying to figure out what our next move is. For the last 30 years, we've been saying our transportation needs are this big, our revenue is this big, and we have this big gap. And that message hasn't really worked. So we're trying to figure out what our vision for the state is. And the reason I'm here today is we were in Lake Havasu City yesterday. We had a great session. I see some people in the audience, some familiar faces. We're here today in Kingman from 1 to 3 in this room, having a listening session to listen to the issues here in the Kingman area. We're at Bullhead City tomorrow at 10 a.m., I believe at the City Hall. No?
We'll be at the MPO office.
Okay. I'm glad that somebody has my back.
Yes, you'll be at the MPO office in Bullhead City. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And just want to give kudos to everybody who's been a part of listening toward this. This is going to be today's going to be our 19th event, and tomorrow's going to be our 20th event. We're trying to go around the entire state to get everybody's input. So I'm just promoting the sessions today and tomorrow here in Kingman and Bullhead City. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. We will now move on to item 8, which is our rural transportation update. Mr. Adam?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Morning, all Tri-City folks. As Renee indicated, it's been a very busy start to the session this year. I'll focus on transportation. I think it's going to be very problematic and challenging as far as any permanent increase to the revenue streams that feed into HERF and pay for transportation. I do think where we might see some activity is with alternative fuel vehicles. Representative Cupper has introduced House Bill 2012, which would establish an alt fuel registration fee. So typical vehicle pays $8 a year at the time of your registration renewal. And this legislation would establish an $85 fee, go from $8 to $85 if you have an alternative fuel vehicle, and then a $40 fee if it's a hybrid. A fiscal analysis has already been conducted on the bill. It's estimated that it would generate about $18.5 million in additional HERF revenue the first year. So we're talking about underinvesting in billions, and so it's a very minimal amount. And then Representative Biasucci, who chairs the House Transportation Committee, last year he started to look at charging stations, and he wanted to make sure that any sales tax revenue related to the charging of vehicles, that sales tax was dedicated to HERF rather than going into the state general fund. And he has introduced House Bill 2259 this year, which would in fact make that occur. So just an assurance that the revenue generated at the charging stations is dedicated to HERF. And that would probably have even less of a fiscal impact than Representative Cupper's bill. I do think that it's important that as alt fuel vehicles and hybrids, as they continue to be used more and more, and they become a greater part of or percentage of the fleet that's out on the roads, that we have a structure in place for them to pay for their fair share of the upkeep of the infrastructure. So I do think it's important legislation to have enacted. But at the same time, I put the caution out there that we're talking about very relatively limited amounts of revenue that would actually be generated. So with RTAC, because of that, we still see that the best potential to increase revenues is to pursue any potential one-time revenues that might be available come budget time. And to simplify it, this is essentially revenue that's already been generated, that came in, revenue collections that came in above what the state had forecasted and exceed the level needed to cover ongoing expenditures. And when there's a balance like that available, the legislature has options as far as its use. It could increase spending, new spending, but also provides capacity for new tax cuts. And so what we have successfully done for about the last 5, 6 years is to make the case to prioritize the use of that funding for transportation projects across the state. And we will once again do that this year. Representative Biasucci has introduced House Bill 2304, which is the RTAC priority project legislation, which includes priorities as vetted and selected by all of the regional planning organizations across greater Arizona. So that includes WACOG, as well as the Lake Havasu and Bullhead City MPOs. And then the other priority for one-time funding is we are seeking an additional appropriation for the Arizona Smart Fund. And this was the program that was created about 4 years ago that provides greater Arizona communities with the ability to receive state funding to help them pursue and then use competitive federal transportation grants. And to date, there's been a 52.5 million in state awards. And those projects that received the state funding have been able to bring back 174 million in federal competitive grants. This is funding that in all likelihood would not have been coming to Arizona. So this is new and on top of the revenue that we already receive. In addition, many of those projects that receive state awards haven't moved all the way through the federal application process. And if they were all successful, they have the potential to bring in an additional 290 million. This is on top of the 174 million that's already been successfully received. So the situation that we find ourselves in right now is that we're pretty close to exhausting the remaining balance for the SMART Fund. There's about a 15.5 million balance remaining, but there's about 7.5 million in projects or applications that are currently pending with ADOT. And if those were all awarded, we would be down to about 7.5 million left. And for the first couple of years of the program, ADOT's been awarding at a clip of about 33 million a year. And so we could exhaust that balance very, very quickly. So Representative Nguyen from Prescott has introduced House Bill 2760, which would appropriate an additional 15 million for the SMART Fund. And then on Friday, in the governor's budget proposal, she has proposed that 10 million be appropriated. So good to see that we have bipartisan support for the SMART Fund. The return on investment has been tremendous. And so it's just going to come down to whether or not there are available one-time revenues this year. Collections have been really solid. We got the December numbers in yesterday, and we're talking about state fiscal year here. The year to date, we've seen 3.5% growth over last year, and more importantly, we're about 240 million above what was forecasted for the year. So we're now halfway through the state fiscal year, and we're 240 million above what was anticipated. However, I think one of the big challenges, and Renee talked about this earlier, is the potential impacts from the federal budget and other federal actions. With HR1, we've already got the federal income tax cuts, and we are now contemplating conformity at the state level. And if we were to fully conform with those federal adjustments, the estimated impact in year one would be 440 million. So that could essentially balance out or totally exhaust that balance that's being generated from all the collections above forecast. As Renee indicated, the governor vetoed the 100% conformity bill that crossed her desk. However, she has indicated that she is supportive of some of the cuts. And so it's anticipated that that will cause an additional stress on the state budget. But also, as I think everybody is well aware, several months ago, we had a government shutdown at the federal level, and a continuing resolution was eventually passed to get us out of that shutdown, but it didn't pass a budget for the remainder of the federal fiscal year, which runs to the end of September. It basically got us to the end of January, which we are only about a week away from that. At this point, we are not anticipating another shutdown, and I know that Coral and Penny are on the line, so they may have some further insights. But from what I'm hearing, it sounds like Congress is well on their way of being able to pass the appropriations bills by next week's deadline and have a budget in place for the remainder of the year. And I think that will be real telling for us at the state level, in that there's a lot of potential cuts to social programs that if at least we know what those cuts are, we'll know how the state legislature reacts to them. You know, many of these programs also involve state funding and are administered at the state level. So if there are federal cuts, federal adjustments to that funding, the state will need to decide whether or not to sort of pass through and eliminate or cut back on services based on the new federal levels, or they could opt to utilize more state funding to make up for some of those federal cuts. And of course, if that happens, that's also going to place stresses on the state budget and the potential for there to be revenue available to do things like fund infrastructure projects and the SMART funds. So not quite sure how lawmakers are going to react to that. But if in fact we do have a federal budget enacted next week that will provide a lot of the information that the state legislature needs for determining or passing a budget this year. So I think those are the main points for transportation for this state legislative session, if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. We appreciate the presentation. Are there any questions or comments? Yeah, Councilmember Campbell.
Good morning, Director. I have a question in regards to the license tax increase, which would be for the electric vehicles and the hybrid. I'm curious, is that going to go into the VLT? Are they going? You mentioned it's going directly into the HERF funding. Can you explain that a little more?
It would go directly into HERF, the Highway User Revenue Fund, which is directed at or dedicated to transportation, with roughly half of it going to ADOT in the state highway system, and the other half going to local governments for their local road networks.
Thank you. Any additional questions? All right, thank you for joining us, Mr. Adam. We appreciate the work you're doing.
Oh, you're very welcome.
All right, we'll move on to item 9, which is our mayor's updates. But before I do that, I'm going to yield a little bit of time to Councilmember Moses, who has an announcement that he would like to share with the Tri-City Council.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Sheehy. Thank you for the time. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about something I'm deeply passionate about, that's civic engagement and leadership development. 2 years ago, I was honored to be invited to the Flynn Brown Fellowship. It's a fellowship through the Flynn Foundation. And they are talking, basically the Flynn Brown Fellowship brings leaders from all over the state together. We get together, we dive deep on the issues, we speak to, I think during my session, we spoke to every single cabinet leader. And in fact, I think we were joking at the end of the session, we talked to everybody but the state mine inspector. And on the last day, she had the state mine inspector show up just to have lunch with us and discuss some things. So the wealth of knowledge that you gain from it is tremendous and wonderful. But I would say it's really the connections you make through this fellowship. I know there's a fellow online, when Dr. Coral Evans, but you go through an experience through the Flynn Brown Fellowship that really impacts you as an individual and kind of creates a commonality amongst other leaders around the state. It's something I really, really endorse, and I was asked, because they're doing a listening, kind of an informational session in Lake Havasu, to also bring it to our other sister cities in Bullhead and Kingman. And so I'll pass along the information to you outside of this meeting, but if you can share it with your fellow council members, your leaders within your community, I wholeheartedly express my that everyone should go through this. It's an amazing experience. It is coming up on February 11th, 2026. It'll be at 9 a.m. in Lake Havasu at the Nomadic Co-Workspace. That is 2119 McCulloch Boulevard North. If you're interested in attending, I encourage you to go to azcivicleadership.org. That's azcivicleadership.org. We're honored to have them as come to Mojave County. This is the first time they've done this. I'll tell you that Mojave County is underrepresented, and we'd like to have more of us fellows in here in Mojave County. So thank you for the time, mayors, and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Moses. All right, coming to the mayor updates. Mayor Head, do you want to start with Bullhead City?
Sure, thank you. So, okay, a button. Yeah. Excellent. Number of turn lanes that we are putting in there in Bullhead City. Some have been completed. We were fortunate to open one yesterday or earlier this week. And the big one for those of you that have traveled through Bullhead City is in front of our Safeway Plaza. That's kind of a mess through there with a big drainage ditch and access up over a rise in the roadway. So we're really looking forward to that one, which should start sometime in the next 2 months. Our spring will be full of sports tourism type things there in Bullhead City. Down in our parks, we'll have soccer, football, basketball, baseball, softball, all of the sports tourism you can imagine almost every weekend in Bullhead. Come down and join us if you want to see some great teams playing along with each other. Our new animal control shelter is substantially complete and should be opened within the next month or so. It's in the old newspaper building and a lot of space for our animal shelter and for our animal care officers. Bullhead City did acquire the Chaparral Golf Course in the last couple of months, and we are currently operating it with its small restaurant. Hear a lot from the community that we really have improved the grass there, those kind of things. So I think that's really something that's been great for our community. We have been watching what's going on with the Bureau of Reclamation, especially with our river levels. Where I live near the river, you can literally walk across it. So a lot going on, and we know that the main purpose of that water is irrigation and taking care of that kind of stuff in the south of Arizona and California. But we've had a lot of dry days. It's funny, my mother-in-law just sent me a photograph out of the blue. There's actually water in the river today, so please look at it when you guys go home or go through there. And last but not least, yes, there's going to be an Olive Garden. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Head. Mayor Watkins?
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, since Mayor Head started off with left turn lanes, we'll do the same. I mention it because Wallapai Mountain Road, of course, is the main way to get up to the county park up on Wallapai Mountains. So a lot of people do use it from all over the county. And we actually have put in some left turn lanes because of development that's going on up there. And of course, it should make that road a little bit safer. The lines can be a little bit confusing right now. We're actually finishing up that project and putting more line engine stripe and sealing that roadway. So it'll be, anyway, it just adds more safety to that road, climbing Wallapai Mountain Road to the mountains. Also, of course, our interchanges that have been ongoing. Anthony mentioned what's going on with the Westfield TI and, of course, our Flying Fortress. Flying Fortress should be done by about August. And of course, as a city, we're working into the tie-ins that tie into that. And so it'll be a great addition to our city and give us more access for people traveling from those neighborhoods to get downtown, to get around the city. Our land release is on track. Now, many of you know that we have an amazing industrial park, and we have more land that is already in our name, but we have to pursue the FAA to get the land release from it to be able to use it. And so we've been working on a 700+ acre project over the last number of years, and that land release for those 700+ acres should happen sometime here in the spring, next couple months. So we're excited about that. Kingman Crossing Interchange, Anthony mentioned also, we've hit a reset portion of that, and we're working on a track to revive that interchange, working with the hospital and surrounding area right there, the surrounding landowners. Our fire stations have gone under remodeling process, and we're almost done with that. And so freshen up, they look great. And of course, we're thankful to our firefighters and what they've been able to go through as we've done those remodels. They've been patient with us, but we appreciate all they do for us. And then of course, we have large utility projects going underway up to the north part of town, the Grace Neal Parkway, Grace Neal Sewer Line addition, and Santa Rosa Transmission Line 2 improvements. So just a lot of different projects going around. And of course, we appreciate our citizens, all of us, our patience with that construction. And of course, we want people to be safe too. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And then an update from Lake Havasu City. We are entering our winter event season. So this weekend we'll have the Balloon Festival. Actually, on this morning on our drive up, there were several balloons in the air. So come on down and experience Lake Havasu over the next several days and experience the Balloon Festival. The weather is looking good. On that front, we also have Winter Blast. That'll be over President's Day weekend. That is the annual fireworks display weekend. We'd love to have you come take a look and enjoy that as well. A couple of zoning changes that we've had in Lake Havasu City last week. The City Council considered a zoning request for a very large area of state trust land that was the former golf course on the island. It's about 90 acres. It did pass, but it's 3 different zoning designations with a resort, hotel, public boat launch facility, shoreline access area, housing, and then commercial development. This will be done just a little bit different than most developments have been done in Lake Havasu. Over the generations, Lake Havasu built one home, one business at a time. And this will come in and actually build this entire neighborhood as planned, or community area as planned, sort of at once in connection with the second bridge that will open around the same time that the development will be completed. So that's an exciting project out on the island. We also have in the coming weeks ribbon cutting for the Kiowa Ponds area, which is a large area on Highway 95 adjacent to the Hobby Lobby Center. It's been vacant for many years. It was a city-owned parcel for many years. We sold it to the Anderson family, and it'll be the Anderson Power Sports facility where they'll sell everything power sports, so water equipment, off-road equipment, and then also have maintenance facilities there as well. So we're excited to get that project moving. We have our annual planning session tomorrow, so our council will get together with our city team and start developing our strategic plan as we're going into the budget cycle for this coming year. So that'll be all day tomorrow. Lake Havasu City is also hosting a lunch and learn with how to do business with the city. We want to engage more with our local contractors and local businesses across the region on how they can do business with us and what we can do to make it easier for them to do that. So we are hosting one of those. We also have our third citizen survey is out on the street right now. So we have reached out to citizens to let us know how we're doing. This is our third one, so we can benchmark against prior data and then also benchmark against other communities across the nation that ask similar questions. There is unique questions specific to Lake Havasu City, and we'll be able to use that and help guide us as we go into the future as well. And that concludes my update for Lake Havasu City. We do have, for those of you attending in person, we do have lunch here, so please stay and have lunch. I would like to thank Annie, the City of Kingman, for hosting us, the clerks for making sure that we are all here doing what we're supposed to be doing, and to my colleagues in our sister cities. Great work's happening in Mojave County. Thank you for all engaging, and we look forward to having some fellowship at lunch. Those attending virtually, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you in person next time. We are adjourned.
Thank you.